Hello everyone and welcome back. We will be trying to speak a little bit quieter here because the room is a little quiet, a little empty, and we've got some people playing some extra Netrunner just to keep things quiet and distracted. We are now into the final, and hopefully in a bit I will have Jonald joining me, who unfortunately didn't make it through the final round because in fact Hemra managed to score out in their outfit deck, but in the final it's been randomly selected that we have these two decks playing. So it's a Corp on Declan's side and then Freedom up against it, to which let's just say Dolbold was not like, this is a great matchup for me when they found out that Freedom was on the other side of the table. The Freedom list has Aracera's crew in it as well, so the opportunity to trash some of those critical ice and keep open access to lots of places so that Freedom can keep on that Freedom pressure. So here we have a price coming down. It's going to get us 2 cards from the Steel Skin and 2 credits from the Strike Front, and then we're going to install a Botchless, which is certainly going to go on that piece of ice because that's the only place it can go. And we might as well install something because it's free. So Botchless comes down. And here is a little trap-inch Botchless counter just to mark it there. Should come with a virus counter too. I think they're just getting that now. Very important for Freedom. Not just because you can use it to break the ice, but also you can use it to trash things. Let's just bring up Freedom, as it's a card that people might not be so familiar with. Eventually at some point, rotating out. And it allows you to trash pretty much any card. And there's Hermes as well. So now when an agenda is scored or stolen, that is going to put on a lot of pressure. So Dolbob definitely hoping that that is a Rashida in that remote, because that's going to help a lot, but the Botchless coming down means it might just be walking through. Welcome along, welcome to the table.
Having what's occurred so far?
So far this is a gatekeeper. So we got the golden price of getting 2 credits and 2 cards out of it. And getting a Botchless, which went straight on the gatekeeper, which I assume we're breaking the end of run, so we can just rush into that. Breaking the end of run, then that's going to let us through.
I've just noticed that's copies of Hermes as well.
Yes.
Which is very good against Sportsmetal.
Yeah. And I mean, it's definitely not a favourable setup for Declan here. Like, this Sportsmetal deck, it's playing fully operational. It's icing a bunch of things. That's Gatekeeper. Yeah. It's playing a bunch of things, but it also wants to install things naked, and that's not good. We did have to go and check the card called Yusuf. Let's go bring that up, because this is always in Freedom decks, pretty much, because it's just a great way to get money, because it is ways to trash cards. And not only that, Freedom can also conveniently trade by paying the res cost instead of the trash cost. So things like Wage Workers is just 2 virus counters rather than 4 credits.
Yeah, and a lot of the assets are going to be much lower res costs, like Amani Sanaya's 2 to res, 4 to trash.
Yeah.
Wage Workers 2 to res, 4 to trash.
And then the other ones, which are just 1 and 2, you're just going to trash those with credits. So yeah,
much cheaper to res.
And I believe also this deck is, I believe, on Armakua, which also just really tears up this deck. So
I know there was a Tag Me Freedom playing God of War today.
Okay, I don't think we saw that in the list. It's on. This one's on Aracera's crew as well, so it's also going to keep up pressure by threatening some of the ice. But it seems to have no recursion. So there's 2 options: is try and rush out and get ahead. But now there's a Hermes, which is going to make that difficult, or the option of trying to outlast and win that way.
Do you know if Declan's on any amount of Mavirus?
No, I don't believe so. I believe there is. Yeah, that feels like the struggle, and knowing that Armakua exists, and Armakua is something that can do well against this deck, and especially with the upsurge in Hashiko since Trickshot has gone.
Well, that's the thing, the crew Hashiko that plays Amakua
Yeah,
relies on viruses.
yeah,
The mulch Hashiko that relies on
Relies
Audrey
on
relies on
viruses, yeah.
viruses. Like, it feels like every deck needs to be playing at least 2 virus right now.
So this is either Gatekeeper, Hyperloop, or Amani Sinai.
Doesn't look like it's being stolen, so I'm going to guess
yeah.
Amani. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you again, Judge Team.
Yeah, and this is an untimed final, just so people know.
Roughly.
Well, we've got up to an hour, which is a very generous amount for a single-sided game. And with 2 decks that, neither of them are trying to stall out and wait ages, so...
No, but as Sportsmetal in this position, you may want to try and delay a little bit to glacier up almost.
Yep.
But
Like, there is a finite amount of money in this Freedom deck, and there will come a point where potentially, well, with Yusuf being able to spend viruses from other cards, it can be a challenge to ever keep them fully out, especially as a barrier breaker. And I guess we've got Gatekeeper is the best option here.
yeah, I mean, if there's no efficient way to purge virus counters as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if there isn't a virus, it makes a much different story. But I suppose the other thing that Declan could be doing here is trying to waste Emra's time, keep installing things on the table, especially with wage workers. Install 3, ice something, whatever.
Yeah, if you go the long game, I feel like there is well, if it's on Amakua, then the Gatekeepers aren't doing anything, the Ablatives aren't doing anything, any brands aren't doing anything.
Brand's probably going to get
Crude, yeah. So three things can get crude. There's no recursion. So
Devil Charm.
I would assume there is also Devil Charm. The other difficult thing, we saw the game just before. Dolbob had a great time with just one working prototype, absolutely tearing up the opponent's board. But it's quite a resource-heavy deck. The Hashikos, they like their resources, whereas this one's only on, I think, 8 resources. So it's on daily casts, crew, and that's about it. So working prototype mostly going to be for generating lots of money. Potentially there's a way that you can focus on getting lots of money from it. You can build a particularly horrible server to have to run through and try and score behind that.
There's definitely ways that the combination of warm reception, working prototype, and especially spin doctor can produce 5 power counters sort of very immediately, even clicklessly.
Yeah.
So there's a chance that you can use that to put crews back on top, really slow down the runner. If the runner's smart though, they might keep the crews and only install them on turns when they want to go and use them to challenge a push.
So here we have a raindrops going to see a powers that be, and then again taking advantage of Freedom's power to use just 1 virus counter instead to trash that card based on the res cost of powers that be.
It is interesting that I don't know how much ice is in hand. We've only seen an ice on 2 remote servers. There's nothing on HQ, there's nothing on R&D. If Freedom decides to just plow through centrals, they might find the points they need and especially disrupt things with that Hermes.
So here's the working prototype. We're resing a warm reception, putting a counter on it for some reason.
I'm guessing that's the second counter that,
Yes, there we go.
This is what I was saying, that as long as the working prototype has something to de-res, I suppose it could de-res the ice. I don't know what that's a Gatekeeper, isn't it?
Yes, it is, which is important if it is Amakua. However, what you can do here as well, yes, it's currently botchless. We didn't use the warm reception. We did have the option of flipping them both before the runner's turn ended, then triggering warm reception, which lets you de-res 2 cards because it de-reses itself and another card, which sounds like a cost, but actually in this deck it is a benefit that it de-reses even more stuff. And I believe that's the Amani Sinai on there. Yep. Thank you, judges, for that help.
Counter on the prototype.
Yep.
I don't think it's been placed.
Let's see if that's going to get remembered. Maybe not. So we're pushing for scoring.
A seamless score here with...
That is probably a Hyperloop extension.
So we're going to gain 3 credits.
And also then we're going to have the opportunity to bounce, which we can bounce the Hermes before, but in this case, with the credit differential, probably just costing them 4 credits.
Yeah, because it's the Corp's turn. The Corp will have the priority of using a Money Tonight to initiate a trace and bounce before Hermes gets a chance. The interesting thing, I think, about Hermes is I believe Hermes is a must, it's not a may. So if there's only one unraised card, that's the only one that can get bounced. So there is a chance here that Declan doesn't particularly...
Yes, you must do it.
So there is a chance here that Declan doesn't particularly mind if that ice gets bounced because there's nothing in that server anymore. Might even want to reposition it somewhere. So there might be a chance that he says, okay, I want to bounce your Solidarity badge so that you can't all draw, or I want to bounce your Fermenter so that you have no econ and no constantly ticking.
So back it comes, and we see there's a drafter. So
looks like we took 2 draws from the...
Oh, and we've installed... Oh, I guess, it was Botulist, so it makes sense. It's just ticking up, giving them value.
Was anything bounced with Amani Sinai?
No, I think we just spent credits.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Declan didn't have the money to be able to force through Amani Sinai triggering, and also it wouldn't be worth it.
Would have got 3 credits back from the Hyperloop, but I think he chose the 2 draw instead of the 2 credits from the Sportsmetal trigger. Scoring that agenda.
And by using the seamless, that gave us an extra click, because we saved a click on the, as in we advanced once, seamless to place 2 counters, scoring, giving us 1 left click to install that piece of ice, to reapply that drafter to where we want it, which is to overwrite that card and get rid of the ever-growing Botulus that's on the table that is just providing Freedom a counter a turn.
Yeah.
Also just making that ice completely redundant.
Padre, I think that's an Arco Mushroom asking in the chat. No, this is single elimination.
Yes.
It's just a single elim top 8. So both of these players have won their first 2 games in the top cut, and this is the finals.
I definitely feel like I think we're right in saying that there's definitely an advantage to Freedom here, and it's most of the difficult decision making in this game is definitely going to be on Declan to work out if there is a way that he can make this work and claw back some percentage chance of winning here.
Yeah, and scoring a single agenda point this early may not make a big amount of difference, but I think destroying that Botulus in quite a clever play, especially if there's not a lot of ice in hand, I think really put Declan ahead. We do see the Amakua there is in hand, so depending on what this ice is, it may actually go down quite quickly to the turtle.
Just having a check of working prototype here.
Again, I think there should be a third power counter
yes,
on that, but
although I think
it looks like there's only 2
too far gone now.
Yeah, but
yeah, there should have been one from the Amani Sinai.
All it takes is the warm reception installing something at the start of the turn, derezzing it itself and the working prototype, and you've probably got your 5th power counter there.
Yeah.
No resource on the board currently. It is still a click for 5 credits button, 6 credits I think.
Yes,
6 on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, just for those in chat, this is a extended time final, so we have to get out of the venue at 10 or something. So yeah, we've been extended to an hour to let us see the real outcome of who wins this matchup. This was decided before sides were chosen, so it was a fair assessment. Although I guess if you have 2 aggressive decks, then maybe there's a line where you're like, I'd quite like it to go.
Looks like Freedom here choosing to repeatedly run HQ. I think saw the powers that be in hand twice there and decided not to use Freedom. I may have missed if Freedom was used previously, but I think there's a good chance. Yeah, there we go. Using the Freedom ability, taking a power counter that was received from Amakua off, and trashing the warm reception. Yeah, top deck there is not exactly what you want to see from Declan's position.
I mean, there is a Spin Doctor which could help us put it in the bin if we need to.
Yeah, drawing another agenda.
And there is a Wage Workers,
Yes.
that's going to help, because that's something we can trigger this turn. And also, and again, it's giving us another install, which is another working prototype trigger. And having spoken to Dolbob, one of his favourite things to do is you use your wage workers, install 3 cards, and then and res them all, and then the last one is to use that working prototype. Although in this case, there is no resource to bounce, and I hope that Dolbob has acknowledged that already.
We can see that there is a daily casts in hand, and I think the Freedom probably here saying, you know, you've got a threatening working prototype, I'm not going to bother spending money and time installing this, at least until you know, if Declan clears this, there's a good chance that Hemorrhoid goes, okay, well, uninstall, cast Nectar after.
Oh, so we're popping on the Spin Doctor already. I guess maybe we want to put down another Spin Doctor and then res it?
2 fully up.
Yeah.
Yeah, there might be another Spin Doctor in hand.
Which, fully up is not going to be doing much right now.
I don't believe there's a whole lot, if any, fast advance in this sports metal deck.
Yeah, it's a lot of no advance. So we've got cohort guidance, wage workers. There is seamless. Yeah.
I don't think there's even a biotic, or there might be one biotic.
I don't believe so. Generally, the deck relies on enough working prototype triggers to get to a position where you can just put a card down and know that they're not going to run it. And with Money Sanai, you can bounce back the breaker, and you can just deplete their credits.
But I think we're seeing here the issue of cards in hand not drawing ice.
Yeah.
Looks like a second Spin Doctor was installed, but
and also the difficulty here with Botulus effectively, we have Aracero's crew, of course, but Botulus also being effectively a trash and ice card. When you see Freedom and you know it's ticking up, it's something that you go, oh, maybe I should get rid of that ice, but then you're running low on ice and then your fully operationals are less good. You have less options to protect yourself.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what was, maybe even a draw was used for the wage workers click, because it wasn't clicking that prototype. That is obviously threatening, don't install a resource or else. But...
And so the other install was to put a drafter in front. And I guess,
sorry,
I believe so, yeah. And actually, that's it's good if we think that the runner is going to run aggressively into it, because it gives us the option of being able to get ice back that we didn't have. In fact, I wonder if fully operational is obviously great, but we do have a maxed out working prototype that we could, on a future turn, if it survives, just spend 3 clicks spend all 4 clicks to get 12 money. Which could help a lot, and then maybe we want to put some ice back, because that's the bit that's the problem here, is having so many exposed remotes like that wage workers, just 2 virus counters.
Yeah, we did see those that Hemorrhoid choosing to pop the fermenter on 3 to get 6 credits.
Yeah.
Running R&D with a raindrops and seeing a piece of ice. I think that was MIC. So
yes.
Conrad would Declan would love to draw that.
Getting the credits from raindrops there, still keeping very flush and very afloat on credits, avoiding installing resources, which I think is smart. Working prototype is a hell of a card, but if it's not targeting resources, it's not doing much.
You see the Devil Charm there in hand. I think that might also be a Single chip, perhaps?
Possibly.
Which would make sense with a Botulus engine.
Yeah.
Installing Devil Charm.
And also to be able to get things like Fermenter back, so you can use it for some credits, and then you can later on, if you're okay with credits, use it as just a virus source.
Last click running this working prototype.
Into drafter.
Has to let the drafter fire or use a Devil Charm just to get it down to strength.
We can't
be.
Wow.
We're using a Devil
Charm to reduce the strength by effectively 1.
It is last click, so if there's a Rashida in archives, and I think the fully ups will both shuffle back. I don't think
and what's important now, also the court gone down to 0 credits. They do have a wage workers, which is kind of like a pad campaign in some cases.
Triple install, take a credit.
Oh,
quad install. That does sort of
so
telegraph that one of them is probably a Rashida.
Yeah, but with an Amakura on 2 counters, like, it can get through that draft route it needs to. Although, again, the
becomes
whole
a credit
game.
issue. Although the benefit of Freedom being able to trash stuff using virus counters instead,
Yeah.
the weakness of this current port state at least is that you're going to have to use credits to break your ice,
Yeah.
and then you're
And yeah,
not flush
like
with cash, and the daily casts, you're obviously afraid to put it down. Now maybe feels more comfortable.
this is where you really want a Hermes trigger to pop off, just to clean up one of these installs and give you something less to check.
That's just it. I wonder if the read should be no more ice has been installed. Charge HQ. I don't know if there's any multi-access in here, like a compilation or twinning.
I'm not too
Maybe
sure if there
twin.
is. So we're spending 2 counters to take down Amani Sinai. Oh yeah, because Amani Sinai is also on steel.
Yes,
I forget that.
It will trigger after the Hermes because on the steel, because Hermes
Yeah.
goes first on the stack, or not really a stack, but Hermes would trigger first on a runner turn steel.
Yeah, and even if it's for a 1-point agenda, it's valuable.
Mm.
Now I think we've just installed. Yeah, we've installed a bunch of things, including Mega Prees, because the first one you want the runner to have.
Yeah, that is probably going to be 2 credits here for Declan.
That would make sense. Yeah, reaching with 2 credits.
Yeah. There will be a Hermes bounce. Gotta guess right which one's the Rashida.
I wonder if we're
Maybe
thinking
there's 2
about
Rashidas.
reconsidering the credits. Okay. We're worried that one of these could be an agenda that comes back to hand. Okay.
Choosing to, because this was a last click run, choosing to res the Rashida before the steel so that it cannot be bounced by Hermes.
Accidentally flipping over the powers that be there, but you know, that's just information for the runner, so it's a course mistake they have to accept.
Yeah, didn't have the credits.
And then, because it was last click, we can pop that Rashida, which is going to help get the economy back up. We do have a spare Mega Pre in there, which now is worth 2 points, which is nice. Which currently we're 1-1 on points. And again, that Armakura is just...
Installing the second Mega Pre. I think it's a reasonable read here that unless Emerald wants to run 2 remotes or central servers without trashing anything and then run the drafter remote,
Yeah.
he not be choosing to go this challenge at this turn.
And yeah, the good thing about Sportsmetal is you're not really spending credits to advance, you're usually getting those back.
It's another daily casts drawn here for the Freedom. I wonder if...
Now is maybe the window.
Yeah, you know accidentally what one of those cards that was installed last time was. You know
Yeah.
that's not a working prototype. The other one might be, but less. It's really the double threat of prototype and warm reception that makes you fearful for suddenly losing your resource that was installed last time.
And it's also knowing that if there is a working prototype in hand or on the table, it could be, you could very quickly get it to 5. If you install 3 cards, of which 1 is a working prototype and 2 are things you can res, that's 3 of your counters. Then you've got 3 cards face down on the table which can be resed, and suddenly that wage workers click can be putting that daily cast back on top, which would be pretty devastating to spend 3 credits on a card for absolutely nothing except to lose a card draw.
We saw an HQ run there, accessing wage workers, but only having 1 Amaku counter because the access hadn't been finished. That is the warm reception.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does look like the trash here will be...
Choosing to use Freedom, it's once a turn, and it does save you 2 credits. Which, when you're on 3 credits, that can matter a lot.
Does look here like you're going to get that Mega pre-scored with a spare click, thanks to wage workers.
Yeah.
What we're going to do with that is...
But also, we have a powers that be.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's very valuable. Although the powers that be triggers first, Do you then
Powers
get
would be you
to
will install a card, and the card is installed face down. You don't have a window to res that card before it gets bounced by
Yes,
opponents.
but at least it goes from your archives into your hand then.
Yes.
So there is the Mega Pre, this time worth 2 points.
Yeah, up to
Should
3
come
points.
with a counter. Yep.
I don't believe there's any threat cards. Ablative Barrier is relevant.
Yes. Yeah, and taking 2 credits there for the Sportsmetal score.
Yeah, looks like there's 2 pieces of ice, one on the wage workers and one on R&D, so one of those will need to be bounced by hands.
And I mean, putting a piece of ice over the Spin Doctor here could be good, just so that you have some lines later for playing fully operational and suddenly bouncing from this mere 3 credits into a seemingly infinite amount of money.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not something you usually expect to play around or against from Sportsmetal, is that fully operational, but ice on remote servers is valuable, even if it's just protecting something very simple.
So that is a Gatekeeper, by the looks of it, going on R&D.
Yep, that Powers the Bee does install without paying res cost.
Yep.
Install costs. So if it's being installed as the second piece of ice, you wouldn't pay any credits. But it looks like we changed our minds there and put it on HQ.
At all costs,
imagine the handwritten agenda is a hyperloop.
Yes. So it's it should have a counter on the Mega Pre as well. So it's 3 points on the Corp side and then 1 point on the runner side.
Bouncing the ice in front of the wage workers. We do, pointed to there, we have the wage workers click. Installing behind the draft, it does say...
Yeah, that's
come get
interesting.
this.
Choosing not to re-protect the wage workers. I mean, we know there's a wage workers in hand, I believe. So there's always a backup wage workers if you need it.
I think that's a good chance Declan doesn't mind here if his opponent spends a run getting a virus counter on Amakur, then spends another run trashing the wage workers, because that means that they're not going to go and challenge whatever's in that remote. So
Yeah.
at this point, that may be a better trade for him.
So Botchless comes down. We know that HQ is a Gatekeeper. We're choosing to put it on the drafter here. Which would suggest that we're planning to go up against the drafter?
I think letting the add a card to hand subroutine fire isn't the end of the world at this point.
Yeah.
So
With the Powers That Be having already had many options to go and get a card from archives and do something with it.
interesting. So instead, what the Freedom is doing is running a asset without trashing it twice. In this case, the wage workers to get 2 turtle counters, using the last remaining credit to break one of the drafter subroutines, and
That's
then
Rashida. Yeah.
using the botches counter to break the other. Freedom able to trash that Rashida without paying any virus counters there, because it's a 0 cost asset. Does put the corp down to 0 credits. There will be
The
virus. Does put the virus counter will be constantly ticking up, and there's that daily cast that's taking trashing.
There we go.
Again, trashing the drafter because we want to get rid of the free virus engine of waiting botchless, as it were.
There's an incredible tension going on at this table here, more than we would be expecting early on.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's no diversion of funds in this deck, but it's almost as if both Corp and Runner are scrounging for cash. They are playing with 1s and 2s.
So 2 credits coming in from Daily Cast, 1 card from the something chip. What's it called?
Sorry, the card draw.
Yeah.
It's Solidarity Badge.
That's the one. It's a badge, not a chip. I think it's also a chip.
It is a chip type. I believe,
Chip type badge. Is this going to be Warm Reception? That is a Spare Wage Workers.
Of the wage workers. I don't know if that was seen in hand previously.
I believe so. The difficult thing Yeah, when a wage worker is arrested on the table and you run a card and you find out it's another wage workers, suddenly your interest in trashing the wage workers just drops. But you have to recognise that the wage workers is a pretty critical piece here. Having those extra installs lets you play fully operational in Delta. So here we go on ablative, so we can go get something. We've got 2 clicks left, so we could just protect something, which would mean if we just like get that drafter back or another piece of ice.
I think with only 1 credit, you'd obviously want to install something that will make money for the corp here, but
yeah,
it's a Mani Sinai that we're offering.
Cool.
I believe that was a Mani Sinai.
And it's a significant cost for the runner to go and get that later.
Yeah, but it's also not money that the corp can pay to res and 1 costs.
Yeah.
Only 1 credit on their side.
Oh.
Access another spin. Are we using the other copy of spin?
Then that one will just have to be
it?
trashed. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that here. I think you commonly see if there's multiple spins on the table, they feel pressured to pop the first spin, shuffle 2 cards back, then res the second one.
Yeah.
Quite often, if there's nothing you actually care about in archives, it's fine to just res the second spin, overwriting the first one, letting it be trashed, and then that spin might be one of the 2 things you shuffle back if need be. So that's been being trashed with Freedom's ability, paying no credits. We are running remotes now with a single credit remaining. That may have actually just been verifying. Yeah, I think that was pointing at the card to say which card was installed previously and which card was the ablative barrier install.
Okay. Because I believe the ablative would be a known install.
Yep. Yeah. Very wisely here, Freedom choosing to apply pressure when there's only 1 credit on the corp side. There's no. We have used Freedom's ability. It should tick up. But we have used Freedom's ability this turn, so we can't trash anything that we see, unless we see another sheet or somewhere or something. But looking for agendas, hunting when there's, I believe, no 1-cost ice in this deck. There's no HB 1-cost ice that we can play.
That's another draft on top.
I believe Freedom's already been used.
Yeah,
that was to
that was to get a counter for it. Which, Amaku are just very good in this deck because once it gets to a certain strength, it's great. And once it keeps getting counters past that, and you can just start using them. And then the corp has to keep considering, do I purge now? But then it can just get up to strength again, and then those credits, they can be used for anything.
That's the thing, that golden number is 6, because 6 virus counters will break a gatekeeper, will break up a hand. There's nothing more threatening than those.
And we've managed to get almost everything off of this daily cast now, which is nice because it's certainly a worrying thing to install when you know that there's 3 working prototype and a bunch of cards that work around it on the other side of the table.
It looks like Declan chose to click for 3 and use the WageWorks click to reinstall something in that ablative remote. Accessing the known Amani scenario using Freedom's ability to trash. Looks like we haven't added a Solidarity Badge counter, but we should may remember to afterwards. Running R&D here.
That looks like another ablative, yeah.
I wonder if it's going to put the...
I think the Amani Sinai is going straight back out.
Yeah. I guess the Amani Sinai, it's probably the best way for Delbob here to effectively purge the Amakua, right? If you can bounce the turtle, not only is it back down to 0 strength, you also spend 3 credits and then click reinstalling.
And with Freedom basically always hanging around this kind of 3 or 4 credit mark, it means that then they're not going to have anything to really threaten. And also it's the click to install it, which matters a lot when you can score something and still install something with the Wage Workers click.
We did see there, Declan chose to res the Amani Sinai on the R&D access. I think it was a fully operational though, which is actually going to be pretty beneficial here. Possible to click for a credit.
Yeah, just trying to get a fully operational Defier is huge here. There's not really a great way to make it work with the Wage Workers here, but credit, install ice, fully operational is just good.
Yeah, there you go.
That's 4 whole triggers.
Plus 7 if you just take credits.
And I think you just got all credits here. because that's been the hardest part for the Corp right now, is just sitting in the hole of having just 2 or 3 credits each turn and everything always being threatened of getting trashed and no way to protect these assets.
Yeah. With that being said, with Amakura on 4 virus counters and 2 daily casts sticking out,
Here comes the Stargate.
I think one of those, I was going to say one of those daily casts is done.
That Stargate can very easily get through to the Freedom should be ready as well.
Looks like we are using that Stargate after clicking for a credit. It's a known piece of ice on
Yes,
R&D.
it's just an ablative. So then we reveal the top 3 face up.
This will be
Did they get? They don't.
Cohort guidance program, a fully operational, and I'm guessing that's another copy of Hyperloop.
Hyperloop, Gatekeeper, or Amani. All of those are possible. I think it's got to be the fully operational here. And then we need to make sure these other cards. Oh no, it was. So
the Gatekeeper trashing the ice means that you don't have to use your crews on it later.
Yes, that's true.
Very sensible here from Freedom.
And those cards are also revealed, so it does give you some information about what's coming up. You know that there's a fully operational coming, which is probably quite scary.
There's a copy of Spin Doctor.
Oh, okay, so that is the Vitruvius, I believe. That's a Hyperloop. So
with a Resed Amani and more credits, this is probably going to be a turtle bounce.
we gain 3, and 2. Yeah, that's an easy.
Yep.
And it's definitely the turtle here because, I mean, the Stargate is more money lost for them, but the turtle is more time for them to get out to power again, and also stops Freedom being so relevant.
That being said, they can already they'll be getting 2 credits from data casts. They have a credit, so click 1, install Amakura, click 2, run somewhere that you can already get in.
Yeah.
There's an unlist card, and I don't think there's an ice on archives.
I mean, it could actually have been.
We saw there the powers that be reinstalling a piece of ice on R&D.
It could actually be a Mani Sinai on the daily casts here.
We do bounce the Amakura. I think that makes the most sense because, as we said, that's without access to copies of the virus, the best way to effectively purge and reset the strength of that AI breaker. Choosing to reposition that ice here onto the remote server. Did we see a Hermes bounce?
I don't think we did.
It's a little bit hard to see archives here. I wonder if there was like an archives ice.
I don't believe so. I think it's always just been 1 card. But we had Wage Workers click. No, it should be.
Wage Workers click was reinstalling a card in that remote.
Yeah,
so
and then the powers that be was the other card. So.
It may have been a mistrigger at this point. We've been playing Netrunner for 10
yes,
hours
it's been
or so.
Long day of Netrunner.
My semi-final against Hemera was,
So now we've
fatigue.
got the Corporation on 2, 3, 4 points against 1 point.
So at this point, probably
an
actually
is the
threatening
win.
game here
Yeah.
with Wage Workers triple advance and seamless launch.
Yep, and we have the. We don't have Vitruvius counter. That's a Mega Pre bonus point.
We did see. We saw cohort. I'm trying to remember cohort
on the top of the deck.
That was the managed to draw. So that might be the card that was installed.
Oh, okay.
Why you double ice a cohort program though? I think it's much less likely to be.
Yeah, I mean there is a line here. If there is a seamless in hand, it could just be there's an Icar in there. You know that they don't have enough time to get down that turtle, get enough counters to run through.
That is the I think known, possibly forgotten, but the second copy of Wage Workers there. Running it mostly just for the Amakura counter, I think, and then running and trashing the powers that be.
This could be. I mean, if that's an Icar in there, but that's quite a brave.
Yeah, we need the Icar and seamless, and I don't think we've seen the seamless yet.
If it's a Gatekeeper that's protecting that, I believe it's Drafter, but if it was Gatekeeper, that's a pretty safe.
We are seeing advances here. I think it's the Vitruvius though. I think we're debating whether to go for a Vitruvius counter.
Yeah. I think so. We have the fully op to be able to bounce back next turn comfortably. There it is,
That is
Vitruvius
interesting. I'm wondering
with a counter.
What's so beneficial in Archives in a deck without fast advance that's worth the Vitruvius counter? Because you have a fully op in hand there.
Yeah, well, I think it's to get back the seamless, so that. But I mean,
If we, oh no, we did use the seamless. I don't know how many copies there are, but we used it.
we did use the seamless. Although we're on mostly 3 or 5 advancement, I think almost exclusively 3 and 5 advancement cards. So the seamless is not really doing much for you.
With the runner on such a low credit total, there's a chance that putting Nikwa in that remote is just unstealable because you don't have the credits to break the ice and then pay the 2 to steal Nikwa. So if there is Nikwa, you may not even need the seamless, you may be able to slow roll it. Bouncing the turtle again is brutal though.
Yeah. It's once this deck is set up and has the pieces it needs to bounce the things it wants, either with Working Prototype on the resources or with the Mani Sanai on the programs, when you're already so low on credits from having to trash things like Wage Workers and Mani Sanai and just an endless barrage of other assets.
We were, almost doomsayering how rough a matchup this might be for Declan, but he is 6-1 up at the moment.
Yes. Yeah, he's definitely being able to play it very carefully and work out a way through to worm his way through this tiny narrow window.
I think again it all rests on the threat of that Working Prototype, because this game looks very different, I think, if Hemra is able to install those daily casts earlier and get some econ rolling, but just completely unable to get a foothold in this game because of the threat of having those resources bounce back to hand. There's also just so many things to trash in this asset-based sports deck that even though you're getting freedom value basically every turn and getting free draws from the Solidarity badge, there's just more things to trash.
And I think also the turn to throw down the Mega Breeze and then managing to score one to get yourself to threat 3 has meant these ablatives have been very relevant.
That is very true.
With those 2 installs missing, and also in a situation where the Powers That Be could sit on the table, even though it was accidentally flipped over and shown, that being allowed to sit around. And to be honest, whenever I've seen an agenda get scored, I've been like, oh my gosh, there was an agenda there?
I think we saw
very craftily placing.
Yeah, I think we saw a triple install there and then Wage Worker click for another 8 credit fully up, which is 10 credits here on the Corp side. Potentially, we know that the other ice remote is the second copy of Wage Workers, but potentially the game-winning agenda in this remote, and no breakers.
Yeah.
We don't know about Archives here, but we can see there's 2 ice on R&D and ice on HQ. There's no longer a free place to run and get your turtle counters.
Yeah.
And even if there was, you'd still need to pay at least 1 credit to break the ablative barrier.
I do wonder how different this game would be if there was an early use of, because that was the really scary card, is whenever they make a run that's successful, they get a counter, and that alongside
that's an Archives run, and there was a Vitruvius in Archives.
There is a counter. Oh,
there's 2 agendas in Archives. There's no money to steal the.
You can take. Oh, okay. Because you could take. You could use the Vitruvius counter.
I think there was a point when Declan was flooded there, and there were 2 spin doctors on the table. And I think maybe
he wished. Yeah, he wished he had the opportunity to put 2 back. Yeah.
Got confused about what was being spun back, or things at that point were more relevant.
Oh, that Managom is going to be punishing.
There are 2 agendas in hand.
Yeah, that's like is that a?
I think one's on Mega Pre. I'm not sure what the one was, but all we need to do is get that down, get the Managom down, and hold.
Yeah.
But now,
and we have plenty of credits for it as well.
This is the thing. We know that there's 2. We know that there's an Ikora in Archives, and I think Freedom's last 2 clicks were credit, threatening to go and get it again next turn if there's no ice or no way to protect it.
But we have the Vitruvius for that.
That's true.
We can pull it into hand. We can install the agenda, install the defenses with Managom, and then we can play fully op to boost our credit total through the roof again.
It's a good point. I was questioning the Vitruvius counter earlier, but I think it was probably knowing that there's agendas in Archives and they need to be protected.
Yeah.
Here we are seeing what looks like a
And yeah, in that moment last turn, when you see they can't steal the Iqua, of course you just leave it there, and you leave the Vitruvius because you need that counter later. And if there's a, if there's a third install, which could be a piece of ice, okay. Okay, we're going all installs. Because there was an option there to, if we still have the fully op in hand, to just make sure we have all the credits to be able to res the Archives ice, the HQ ice, and the remote ice, and the cards in it. That's a comfortable amount of credits to be able to produce with that fully operational, that then we can feel pretty confident about getting that win by scoring out that last card and just pulling back the
Kawa project.
Yeah.
Archives. Does give a single virus counter to the Makua, which threatens to go and get whatever's in that double ice server, but only if the second piece of ice is another one strength.
Okay, I'm really panicking. I'm like, what if there's just a naked agenda on the table? What if we just... But even then, just finding an Iqua is not enough right now.
I think this is going to be game. I think if this isn't an agenda, it's not. That's the co-op guidance program. I'm pretty sure that has to be game.
Trash or no trash here just doesn't. Just doesn't make a difference at this point.
Paying credits. Oh, installing Fermento. Are we revealing the agenda there? We are.
There we have it. Wow, that was an impressive comeback. Yeah, I don't know. What would you estimate was the percentage, knowing the matchup of the kind of decks?
Not having seen the deck lists, just like Freedom into a asset sports, I would say 30% chance that the sports wins this, but 7 points to 3 in the end. But it was very nearly 7-1.
That infinite Amani Sinai and the turtle getting bounced once or twice.
Freedom here, showing the use of was desperate to find earlier. Wow, just incredibly well played, and obviously Declan featuring on stream last time at London Regionals.
Yeah.
A heartbreaking way to go out that time.
Unfortunately,
nearly made the finals, but
he's managed to fix the tiredness issue of walking into an accidental game last earlier.
Yeah, and just playing the same decks as well, as far as I'm aware. Not a single card change.
Yep, no change at all.
Or the court.
I pressured him a lot. I said, stick a Gaslight in that deck and you'll find that fully operational more, but he was like, nope, more of the same. He'll make it work. And it's a very unique deck. I've not seen... It is a custom build, I believe?
There was the working prototype warm reception in Sportsmetal. That's something that, and especially the Mani Sinai, that Koga played at a Italian CO last year, I think, I believe, and won with it.
Yeah.
And then it was taken by other players, and it did quite well at a couple of tournaments. It is a deck, when it relies heavily on the reception working prototype, that's quite onerous to play in person, because there's actually a lot of fiddliness with turning cards over and back under.
And remembering that when you res a card, you have to put a counter on this card and that card.
Yeah, I think we saw like a mistrade with it previously, but especially when you're like de-resing a card that has counters on and you want to re-res it, trying to actually move the counters around.
Yes.
So I think that maybe that's part of why it faded away. I think the advent of decks like Mulch and Lou that are big on trashing also.
Yeah, let me just take a brief set. I think we're getting kicked out of 10, so there will be no opportunity this time to do a little chat to our winners. In this case, Declan winning, and for Hemera to do a little debrief of what it was like getting to this point in the final.
Declan's local to you, though? You get for
Declan's in
video?
London. Declan's going to be along for some tabletop streams that will come up eventually. I think we're going to do one towards the end of March. Because I've been enjoying seeing a lot of more tabletop Netrunner streaming. Because for me, it's all about the in-person experience. Some decks are just awful to play online.
Some decks are awful to play in person.
Yeah. But having the option to, talk more about the cards. Like, I'm storing this card. It could be an agenda. I don't know. Things like that. You can have that little kind of
the rapport that you get. It's what we're all here for, I think.
And also then you get to see deep dive one card at a time, which people have said one of the most demanded features is we need deep dive on Jinteki Net, where it does it a card at a time.
I did win a game today by stealing an SDS, and it was the 7th card reveal. Oof. And the 8th card wasn't an agenda, and none of the other ones were an agenda, so it was just like getting more and more, just the tension building, and yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for joining, Jonald. Unfortunate today, but I'm sure we'll see you in a top cut and in a final sometime soon.
Thank you. It was a lovely day. Thank you for streaming.
Yeah, and thank you all for coming along, watching the final. They're going to be clipped, and I'll put them up as individual videos later on. But it's time to head off because I feel like I'm being ushered out, perhaps.
Just checking we're all good for time.
Oh, cool. In which case, we'll all see you another time. And thank you all for stopping by and watching the stream.